He killed his first family, and then he killed his second family. Fred was a prominent pastor and civil rights activist in Michigan. He had a strong love for Christ, his family, and his congregation. He so believed in the Bible completely, especially about the part of forgiveness and giving people second chances, because it had a personal meaning to him. He wanted to help people who had made mistakes just like him. And one of those people he wanted to help was a dear friend of his that had been incarcerated for many years. He would write several letters to the Michigan Department of Corrections in support of his former congregant and friend, Gregory. You see, Gregory had been in prison for over 16 years and had been a model prisoner. He listened to the guards, he read his Bible daily, his psychiatric exams were, for the most part, normal, and he never got into any altercations in prison. Well, once, and it was over a small disagreement that resulted in a fist fight. For the most part, Gregory was a model prisoner. He just had a mishap, as stated by the pastor, that's the pastor word, and a lack of self-control, once again stated by the pastor. The pastor continued, if released, the church community and his family would be there to help Gregory and offer any type of support that he would need. And by this time, Gregory was in his late 40s and, he's learned his lesson. He's matured by then because as you get older, you become smarter, you mature more. His parents and his community was rallying for him to be freed. Everyone thought he was just such a nice guy who made a mistake and deserved a second chance at freedom. Now, Gregory had been denied parole twice. But because of his continued good behavior and the amount of support from the community activist and pastor who had a lot of clout in his community, as well as the friends and family of Gregory, he was eventually freed from prison in 2008. Gregory is a free man. He's living his life, trying to get back into the swing of things. He's giving back to the community and making good on his word to the pastor. He was very involved in the church and just wanted to get on with his life. While he was working to get himself together, his eye was caught by the pastor's daughter, Faith. Faith had a crush on him 17 years prior, so when he came back around, it just reignited the torch that she had initially. They started hanging out, and eventually, love grew between the two. And in 2010, they ended up getting married. Faith already had 2 children from a previous marriage, and like her father, she too believed in giving people second chances. Faith and Gregory would go on to have 2 precious little girls, giving them a total of 4 children, including the 2 stepchildren from the previous marriage. But as time went on, the relationship became rocky. Gregory and Faith would often have arguments, and Gregory would often become controlling and abusive. Faith tried to work out her relationship. She would refer back to her parents' relationship and saw that they had issues, and they worked it out. So her thought process is, well, if they could do it, I need to try it and work out my marriage. But eventually, it became too much for Faith, and she would try to divorce Gregory, not once, but on 2 separate occasions. The first time was in 2013. However, after living apart for a little bit, Gregory told her that he had changed and wanted to work it out. However, in 2016, it looks like Faith no longer had faith in the relationship. They ended up going through with the divorce, and Gregory did not like that. How do I know that Gregory did not like that? Well, it's because Faith would later wake up in the basement, duct taped to a chair with her hands zip-tied together. She had been beaten, her face had been slashed, and she had also been shot in the foot. But wait, there's more. Down in the basement next to her was Faith's 2 teenage children, his stepchildren, Chadney and Kara, ages 19 and 17. They too were bound just like Faith. And in an effort for her to feel the pain like he felt because of her wanting to divorce, he shot them both in the head in front of her. He would go back and assault Faith until she fell unconscious. Now, remember, he had 2 biological children with Faith. So what happened to them? I'm sorry, I know you're into the story, but real quick, if you like these stories, please don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so that every time I release something, you know when I'm releasing it. Okay, thank you, bye. I'm not sure if this is prior or after, but Gregory would put the 2 young girls, Coy and Kaylee, ages 4 and 5, in the car and took a pipe that he bought from the hardware store a week ago. So he had planned this out. He connected that pipe to the exhaust pipe in his car and ran it up through the sunroof of the car. He sealed all the places where air could escape and turned on the car and let it run. The girls would later die from carbon monoxide poisoning. I have no word for this. This shit is wild. Like, what the fuck? All you had to do was just leave her, dude. That's all you had to do. This was the perfect time for you to be a deadbeat dad. Fellas, if you feel like you're going to do all of this, just tell her, hey, I'm at a point where I feel like I'm about to kill everybody. And then just leave. All of that murder, highly unnecessary. Gregory would then call the police and wait patiently for them to come and arrest him, just like he did before. Oh, yeah, you heard me. I said just like he did before. Oh, that's right. I didn't even tell you why he was in prison the first time. My bad, my mistake. Let's go back to 1991. Here is 1991. Gregory is married to Tanya, who is at least 6 months pregnant with his child. Tanya, like Faith, had 2 children from a previous relationship. At first, the marriage was all loving and just a great relationship. I mean, Gregory was a great guy. And then Gregory started to become controlling and violent, the normal signs of an abuser, just like he did with Faith. Tanya got to a point where she could not take it anymore. Tanya would later tell her friend that she was going to leave him. But unfortunately, she never got the chance to, because Gregory stabbed her in the neck and in her chest, killing her and the unborn baby. Just like he would do with Faith, he then called the police and calmly told them what he did. And when the police showed up, he even showed them where the murder weapon was. I mean, what a stand-up individual. Luckily, Tanya's other 2 children were saved from his wrath, because we know that Gregory is about giving everybody that work. Side note, if a guy did all of that, what Gregory did to Tanya, and then he calls the police and waits for the police to come to him, you know he's crazy. Everybody in the penal system, the counselors, the parole board, everyone has to know that this dude is insane and not fit to be on the street. The pastor has to know that this dude is not of the sound mind. I just don't understand why everybody just was like, okay, we got to give this dude. I get it. Forgiveness. For Tanya's murder, Gregory would be sentenced to 15 to 25 years in prison. While he was there, he worked on cultivating a relationship closer to God, and everyone who knew him, including the pastor, who was Faith's father, his parents, his sister, and those in the community, would continually write to the parole board, saying that he made a mistake. He was a little immature emotionally. Yeah, he killed a woman, but who doesn't? Mistakes happen. We should let him be free. Let me tell you something. If my son did all of that, he can stay in jail for all that I care. He could rot. Let's come back to 2016. So unfortunately, all the children passed away. But Faith miraculously survived. I don't know if it was intentional, as he did tell her that he wanted her to suffer, but she did survive. Gregory was sentenced to 45 to 100 years in prison, plus 6 to 10 years for additional charges. By the time he gets out, he'll be 97 years old, which is wild that he didn't just get the death penalty. Now, I know what some of you guys are thinking. Why would she marry a dude who was a convicted murderer? Faith would later release a book that told her story and help you gain more insight into her mindset when it came to dating and ultimately marrying Gregory. Faith's father, the activist/pastor, had a crazy past himself. He was addicted to drugs. Him and his wife had a tumultuous relationship, and he even had some run-ins with the law. Because of his background, he felt like anybody and everyone is allowed forgiveness. Grace can be extended to them. This was something that he heavily beat into his children, which could explain why Faith was okay with dating someone who had a criminal past. But in the book, she didn't exactly know that he went to prison for murdering his first wife. Now, some people would call BS because it's like, that's your dad. How do you not know? If you're from certain communities and certain families, they have a way of keeping things secret until you just stumble into it. I recommend you to purchase her book and read it and give me your point of view, because you might see something different. However, her dad for sure knew. And yes, I believe in God, I believe in forgiveness, but no ma'am, I'm not going. My dad would have to beat me to make me date that man. Like, he killed his wife and he doesn't have a good reason for killing her, and I'm supposed to marry him? I'm just gonna have to start hanging out with Satan, because this is not of God. I don't care. If you go to jail for murder, it's a strong no for me. I'm sorry, because you've already broke the seal at this point. I know that you have it in you. I know anybody can kill for any reason. I get it. Some people just have to be pushed to the point. I get it. But to see that there's actual proof that you killed somebody and you don't even have a good reason why you killed them, it's a no, dog. There was a guy that my dad knew, and that guy went to jail for murder. My dad wouldn't even let that man look my way. Let's talk about the aftermath. What's happened since then? Faith's father, of course, like anyone would be in that situation, has never been the same. He actually had a stroke afterwards. And Faith, well, she's been trying to push on by creating a few nonprofits in honor of her children, as well as to release the book that I was telling you guys about. It's called The Monster That Killed His Family Twice. I personally need to finish reading the book because I want to know how's Faith's relationship with her father now. Me personally, I'm not forgiving my dad. Dad, come on. Eric, come on, Dad. You were on drugs and you beat mom occasionally. Okay, this dude murked somebody, Dad. It's not the same. One of the most dangerous times for a woman in a violent relationship is when she is about to leave. Ladies, never tell them what you're going to do. Just do it. Also, you can forgive people. You don't have to hang out with them, though.